Everyone needs the seas to be wetter. We don't need all our cheese to be cheddar. Our only needs to get better and better and better and better.
Hey, so it's Jessica and Shana, and it's going really well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
I wanted to share with you. I put into Chat GPT, create 12 options for a podcast title which summarizes growth oriented friendship, betterment, catching up, accomplishments, goals, and spiritual adventures. Because I figured when we talk, it's like this ongoing conversation. And so this is what I got back. The Betterment Chronicles, nurturing growth oriented friendships. Elevate and inspire, catching up on achievements and goals. Soulful pursuits, friendship growth, and spiritual adventures. Like, how fun is this? Progress parlays, unleashing accomplishments and friendship. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So there's a whole list.
Oh my God. I love the first one. And hold on, because I want to say I learned about Chat GPTs yesterday. How about that?
See, did you try it?
I have, so I'm doing a women's group. I'll tell you about that later. But I was like, oh, like, how do I build this outline? Like, what? And you just need inspiration to pull from sometimes. And I was like, why didn't I know about this Chat GPT before? It's amazing.
It is. It is.
I love that.
Someone asked me to do a LinkedIn review for him, and I had offered a long time ago, and he finally said, "Hey, is that offer still good?" And I did similar thing. I was like, write a LinkedIn review incorporating, and I wrote like the qualities that I liked about him, and it sent me this long thing, and I was like, okay, summarize that, and then it gave me a short thing, but it gave me the bones to work with. Like I justified it, like made it sound like me, edited. He was a lifesaver, stuff that was not from Chat GPT, but it like just moves you so far forward.
It helps with the brain fog. That's what I really love about it.
Exactly. Like with the tedious stuff, right? Like versus like I have these facts in my head, but for me to take time to like write that down is kind of boring, but I get the Chat GPT to do that, and then I can add like the more creative elements. So what were you playing with?
So I am starting a group for mothers of color, and it's been on my heart for like 2 years, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, you're not believing in yourself. But when you have that thing that's like itching at you, and by way of all the things that I've been working on, I finally mustered up the confidence to do it. And I'm like, I'm talking to all these mothers, or they're always like texting me like, Shana, da, 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 da. And I'm like, we're sharing information, resources, we're sharing experiences. I'm like, this other mother needs to know that, like, she's going through what you're going through like right now. Or a mother's further ahead in her mothering, like she has a teenage child, and that's information like we need, like how prepare for some of these things. Obviously every child's different, but just being in the space, because everyone's like feeling like they don't have anybody. And so I'm like, well, I need to create that space. And so I went on Chat GPT, my sister, when I say literally yesterday, Jessica, like, so the fact that you're saying this today, and I know you've already known about this, obviously, before I did, and then here you are saying it, I just love like the synchronicities and the alignment. But my sister had told me about it yesterday, because I was telling her, like, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this outline. I have all these ideas, but I can't organize it. I love that it organized. It gave me a structure. So now I can like fill in the rest,
Wow.
And so I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's funny because we don't plan what we're going to talk about, but it always just like lines up, right?
It is.
To be relevant and fun. So Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was digging those. I put them in the blog post. I'm not going to read all the 12, but it was just like, this is fantastic.
I love
So
it. So do we officially have a name for our hour? Is our hour?
no, no, unless you want to look at that list, then we could pick it, or we could
Yeah.
just have ChatGPT come up with a new one each time.
Yeah, I love it.
Or
No, I
till we like one that sticks.
love it. I love it. No, let's free flow. Let's do what we've been doing. It's amazing. It's funny because I was thinking about you. I was getting ready and everything, and a couple things were like on my mind. I'm like, okay, what am I bringing to the table tonight? What are we talking about? And we're like free flowing with everything. But I did want to share with you that so a little while back, I was introduced very, very briefly to Ayurveda. And so something like, I'm like, oh, okay, an Ayurvedic lifestyle. Like, what is this about? Right. And so I've been in this space. I don't know if we talked about this last time or not. I've been talking to so many people. I'm like crossing all my
Not
wires.
yet, not yet. Yeah.
So just talking about like dieting and like getting into a routine, like I've been getting back into like this full-time work routine from really like focusing on my children, my mothering, making that the priority. And so now I'm like, I have much more space to include like my business full-time, how I want to just pursue different projects and things. And so, I'm doing that. I'm good on that front right now. And then I'm like, but the health front, like I did fall off, I have to admit. And so Ayurveda kind of like circled back around because it was always something that I was interested in, but I never delved deep because I just didn't have the capacity. And so I was looking for a detox because I'll do like a 10-day cleanse. And I found this 3-day cleanse. It's like for your kidneys, your liver, a reset and detox and a reset. So I'm like trying to reset my taste buds because I'm like all addicted to the sugars and all the poisons and stuff. Unfortunately, they got me. So I'm like cleansing myself of that, right? And then so I click on this like detox and reset, and then I was like, let me check out the website because I love Pinterest. Pinterest is full of a bunch of fun stuff. And so go to the website and it's Ayurveda. And I was like, oh, this has been coming around again. And so I was like looking at my dose, like finding out that I'm a kapha dosha and things like that. And what I really love about it is the fact that it supports you in, it's like you're tailoring your lifestyle to what it is currently to move beyond where you are currently versus like, these hard and set diets these fad diets that, so many of us fail at. And so I'm getting into, I just bought me a little guide. It's called, I think it's like Ayurveda for idiots. I love that. I'm like, ooh, for dummies, the simplest breakdown. I love it. So I bought that book as just like a beginner's guide, because it is such a complex topic. I know like this much, like teeny tiny about it. But like spiritually, I guess I bring it up more so because on the spiritual front, I'm like being moved that way because it keeps coming up. So one thing I really wanted to ask you about or just talk about tonight was intuition and like
Ooh.
following intuition and like, for you, like what are the signs that you get, nudges, touches, like what is your relationship like with your intuition?
Yeah, I love that question because it's like I'm gonna say weird communication, like that's not like your thoughts, right? It's different. It's like a knowing that comes through, or just a sense like almost a knowing without knowing why, or even like hearing something to tell you. But I've noticed to just pay attention and see how these messages come through. And like the craziest thing happened when I was visiting my mom. When we were kids, it was a short block, like acre zoning. There was farms across the street, and we were allowed to walk cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac, like back and forth. Like that was it, not allowed off the block. And so I wanted to go for a little walk. And I had gone on a walk the night before with my mom, and we found these keys. And like these were like hefty, heavy, like 30 key, like it was so many keys on this key ring. And we hung it up. I was like, you know what, there's a reflector on that telephone post. Let's just hang it up on the telephone post. But again, there's like hardly any houses up there. My mom's like not on next door. I didn't know what to do. So I was like, hopefully the person who lost this will see. And the next day I was walking, and I wasn't going to leave the block because I'm a good little girl still, even though I'm like half a century old or more, and going cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac. But I all of a sudden heard these birds so loud. I was like, wow, I think that's for me. Like out of nowhere, like crazy. And I was like, I guess I'm supposed to go down this hill. So I follow the bird's voice instead of back, forth. And then at the bottom of the hill, I see like off in the distance, a man and a dog, and something's like tells me, and again, it wasn't really a voice. It was like, you have to catch up to them. And I was just like, that's really creepy. But I was like, all right. So I'm like kind of like trying to not do it in a super creepy way. And I catch up to them because they were like good distance away from me. And first I start petting the dog because I'm a dog person. And I'm talking to the guy, and I'm just like, did you happen to lose some keys? And the guy's like, oh my God, I've been tearing apart my house all day. It's going to cost me hundreds of dollars. And he was just so stressed out. He didn't stop to think, why is this woman asking me, did I lose my keys? And so I was just like, no, you don't. I know where your keys are. And it was just, I don't know if I said this while I was walking back and forth, going to just walk back and forth. I had the thought in my head, I really want to see those keys get returned to the person. I think I forgot to mention that. Like, so I was kind of going to be walking past them on my back and forth and thinking, before I go home, I would love to like know that this person got their keys back. And then that's when the birds were chirping. So it was crazy. Like, you don't think like, oh, well, birds are going to chirp and lead me the way in my life. But it's like things like that where it just catches, like Suzanne Giesemann would call it a snag, I think, even though she might use that word in a different context. Like it snags your attention. Something in you tells you like, this is important. Like the same thing happened when I was walking up to go in a hot tub recently, and it just looked like the back of like a young teenage boy, nothing threatening or whatever. And like something told me like, don't go in there. And I didn't. And like, I later found out that it wasn't a teenage boy. It was an unhoused person who was actually a woman, but super skinny, like very drugged out and like naked in the hot tub. And so like, who knows, if I went in there, maybe nothing bad would have happened. But, something was just like, that's not for you, Jessika. Like, just keep going. So again, it's like these little like pieces of message versus like anything blatant. I forget her name. I think her name is Lisa. It might be Lisa O or Lisa K. I think she's got a PhD, but she's got this book, Intuition on Demand. And it's funny because she says like, it'll never like yell at you. It'll never be scared. It'll never be like that all caps voice, that we sometimes get, which is more like our own internal part. Yeah, so that's what it's like for me. It's not like a consistent thing, but just being open to how it comes through. How about for you?
I usually get feelings in my body. Like I'll get like touches. One thing that I still haven't like quite figured out, and it stopped recently. I would get this feeling of like rain pouring under my skin. And something was always happening, but I haven't, like when it was starting, I would disregard it. And then it wasn't until like I started trusting myself more that I like reflected back, but I can't remember like what was happening at that time. But I get like the feeling like someone's touching me. Um, when something just doesn't feel right, that little voice that comes in like your head, it's like your own voice, but it's like, nope, don't do it. And, sometimes people are like, you'll say like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And there'll be like that convincing that happens
Yeah.
once you say it out loud because you're following your inner knowing. And then it's like all this convincing. And I'm like, I used to, okay. Now I don't, I'm just like, no, it's not a good thing. And it hasn't failed that every single time I was supposed to say no, speak up for myself, whatever it was, and I didn't and continued with whatever it was, the situation, the journey, it hits me and then it comes back to prove like, see, you should have listened. And I don't know if I don't know if it was I want to say we were talking about this, that like that judgy feeling, like, so I had to like decipher like, is this my intuition or am I being judgy?
Mm.
And I just love the word judgy. I know it's judgmental, but
That is good. I mean, we have to judge things, right? Like in spirit, I think everything's just love and that's that. But like when we're in a body, well, now in order to keep the body alive, you have to make judgments and sometimes they could be too harsh, but sometimes they're like so appropriate and helpful. So I love Wayne Dyer says ego is earth guide only. So I tend to say like we don't just have one ego, we have many, like, this part of me, that part of me is like one little earth guide, another little earth guide. And someone could be like, don't do it. You should trust your intuition, but Samantha's really wants me to do it, and it's like you have this internal stuff and it like could drown out that clamor, the open mic night in your mind drowns out the intuition. But you're right. Anytime it's always right. So I listen to it. Yeah. And when I haven't, I was just like, you're like,
right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're just like, if only I would have listened to myself. I think as a young person, it's quite hard to do that if you're not taught that there's a voice inside of you that you should trust. I know I wasn't taught that.
No.
I wasn't taught like, listen to your instincts, trust your gut, however we want to say it. I learned that on my own. And I was always like this kid that was like, curiosity killed the cat. And I'm like, we are killing the cat. Like, let's do it. Let's find out what's behind that door. And as an adult, I'm super curious. I'm like one of those people that I go in the store and I touch something and I think of my mom, like, stop touching stuff. And then I'll knock everything down. So I'm still like very much curious, or, I like mysteries and just little weird stuff. And I love that. But knowing that if something's saying don't do it, to honor that and listen to it. And sometimes, I think the hard part, like as an adult, is that something could be telling you, no, don't do it. And it could surround people that you trust and love, feel safe with, right? And so there's no initial red flags for you because you're like, I'm in my safe space, I'm in my circle of love, like what could happen? And so things have happened with people that like I love and trust, and not that they were maybe intending to put me in a bad situation, but maybe they also were not following their, intuitive instincts. And so then things happen and it's like, well, somebody needs to be using their gut instinct because here we are and this is not a great situation. And so I learned that even that's hard. So sometimes it's like, okay, this is someone that loves and trusts you. And if they love you and they trust you and they have your best interest, like, hey, speak up and tell them, like, I know you wouldn't put me in harm's way, but something's not right. And don't just follow because you're like, I'm with somebody I love. you know?
Right.
So it went from like trusting my intuition for like safety purposes, especially in unfamiliar territory, to even in familiar territory, still relying on that because I'm saving myself, but I could also be saving, someone that I love, preventing us from
Right.
getting into a situation that's unnecessary.
Yeah. And I've started seeing, because I think there's a difference between instinct, which we're like hardwired into the biological spacesuit, if you will. Gut instincts are interesting because I think that could be physical. Like there's a whole book on it, on gut instincts. Again, like programs in the body. But I think that's where the intuition comes in too. So for me, the intuition is like somewhere beyond kind of telling me whether it's my spirit or my soul or some kind of other connection to spirit. But for people, if I don't know what they believe or whatever, I would just usually say like, my gut's saying no or my gut's saying yes. And I've learned the hard way to always trust my gut, like, and then nobody really argues with that. Like, but what's interesting too, there's this woman, I might say her last name wrong, but I think it's Sonia Choquette, and she's a big like intuition trainer.
Okay, yes. Angel guides.
She was raised this way. The mom would ask her and her siblings, like, what is, I don't know if she would say, what does your body say? But I think she would say, like, what does your intuitive spirit say? And like taught them to like weigh in on this. And it is, I always tell myself the body gets a vote because like you, where you're saying you kind of the lifestyle, I'm trying to. I could tell you I bought a trampoline. I'll tell you why in a little bit, but I try to like remember because I get so sucked in, especially with the AI. One weekend I was doing AI art, and I was like neglecting every which part of my body, and so I have kind of assigned like an inner voice to be like, you guys speak up for my body. Like body gets a vote. Remind me, my body gets a vote. Like your body, your eyeballs say, stop looking at the computer. Your body needs to go outside because we ignore it. We ignore it. We ignore it. But like even just checking in and how it feels with our body, no matter what level of spiritual or whatever terms you use, it's really there. The knowledge is there. And it's so cool to listen. And then you realize, wow, that was smart.
Yeah. Oh, that is so true. That book, well, Sonia Choquette, the book that I'm thinking of, and you might be talking about another book, but let's say Spirit Guides, Angel Guides. Oh my God, I love that book. It's so powerful of just like getting into spirituality. The thing I love about that book is that there's a part in it, I want to say it's in the beginning, she asks for you to like give your spirit a name.
Mm.
And for me that was just, I don't know why that was just so profound to me, but it was by way of allowing me to explore my spirit more, by acknowledging it as more than just like a feeling or this invisible entity or energy. It was like acknowledge your spirit as if it is an equal to you. I don't even want to say person. And then did that, and then like having these conversations. So like once I read that, and other stuff in her book that I thought for me was so profound, but I started like engaging and having conversations with spirit in like a much different way. And so it's always like for me, I feel like there's the angel and the angel and the devil like analogy or whatever. But like spirits, for my spirit to me is like the all-knowing of both. There's that nudge for the good, there's that nudge for the bad, which is like the curiosity. With spirits, just like we're gonna settle, we're gonna ground, and we're gonna feel out like what's the best decision. Because there I do feel like like it's the duality within us. But like for me, I'm like, there's no duality with my spirit though. I don't
Right,
know
right, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And so, in like my spiritual practices and meditation and everything, like I do a lot of, I guess I don't, it's not mirror work when you're like meditating, but like seeing yourself in the most perfect form and essence that you are. And that's when I feel like my like spirit comes in and I'm like face to face with spirit. Looks just like me, but the best version of me that I can imagine at this time or at the present time, that I'm doing these meditations and things like that. And it's so powerful because it's just the relationship has just changed so much. And I grew up in Catholic church for a little while because I went to Catholic school. And so, like, thinking back, I don't remember like a whole lot, but I never remember like acknowledging your spirit as one with you. It was more
Mm.
the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and they're like all the Trinity, and it's like separate. It's like this separate higher power, beings, energy, and I didn't take from going to a religious school that all of that higher power and that energy was really from within. It was just separate. It's kind of like this all fearing thing, like that's looking down on you versus we're one, we're equals almost because we're one and the same. So I am you, you are me. And it makes me think of just the whole thing of like everybody has their own perspectives, but like the God in you, right?
Yeah.
We acknowledge God generally as being outside of us when if God created us in his image, as it says in the Bible, then we are a part of God. God is a part of us. And so to walk like God, the likeness of God, but to acknowledge yourself not as like you're better than anybody, but just to walk with the poise of like your highest self. And so I feel like for me, like my spirit embodies that, and I'm like aiming to be like in like walking in the flesh in my full spiritual capacity, and I'm
Hmm.
still like rising to that, but I know that is I'm capable of it, you
Right.
know. And so, yeah, it's amazing, like how that book just like it just helped me like get in touch with my spirit in such a different way, which I thought was so amazing and so profound for me. But that book, she's that Sonia Choquette
Yeah.
is
Yeah. I'll
amazing.
have to buy it and check it out because yeah, I haven't read her books. I've seen videos of
Yeah,
her. She's just so adorable and I love her. And she's got the, really good advice on
yeah,
connecting with your intuition and
yeah.
some tricks and sound effects. Was it like you breathe in and go like, woo, or something like that? And like you drop into your heart or,
I
because
love it.
yeah, I believe you're right. Like you can connect and be connected more as you're walking around. So not just sitting in a meditation, but like letting that spirit and not drowning it out, letting the light shine through or whatever analogy you want to use. And then have those earth guide onlys or in your head, like be guided by spirit versus, trying to run the show and drown things out and have that internal harmony versus conflict, right? So there's that saying, a mind at war with itself knows not eternal peace, right? And so a lot of people have a lot of internal dialogue where it really truly isn't just one. We're not a mono mind, right? It's like we always see the cartoons and there's a little angel on one shoulder, devil on the other, or whatever. It's like this whole conversation going on, but what if we had harmony and like we were little user inside voices and was like be able to be guided by spirit to like hear those birds and be like, oh wow, those birds are for me versus if
Yeah,
I was worried about, this person's such an idiot and was like all in my head and it gets heavier and it like literally like blocks that light that's always always there. So
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. And that's how and then you're kind of shining in the world, and other people are like, wow, what's going on? I want what you
Absolutely.
have. I always
Yeah.
hear, I like your energy.
Right. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so sad that I always think about how noisy it is. I remember at a time where just going through a lot as a new mom, and I still feel like a new mom, by the way, even though everybody goes, you're not a new mom, your kids are about to be sick. I'm a new mom. It's a new stage. I'm still new at it. Um, but I remember like I always felt like it was noisy, and I didn't know how to describe that to people because it wasn't like noisy. It could be just how it is now. Like you don't hear any cars or anything. It's quiet. It's just me and you. And
Yeah.
I'd still be like hearing like all this noise in my head. And it was just the internal chatter, all my mental chatter and like meditation and like doing my healing work, my mirror work and self-love and just all this stuff I had to do to like take a breath
Yeah.
and step back and just give myself space, like quieted the noise so much. And I mean, there's times like you're busy and you're going, so it's a lot going on in your head, but I don't have like that constant like internal chatter. And I feel like that noisiness that I experience, and however anybody would like call it for themselves, I feel like that is like what separates us from spirit.
Oh, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
we're just going, going, going,
Yeah.
not making time, to just sit and be one with ourselves. I found like when I first started doing mindfulness meditation, I love mindfulness meditation, by the way. I think it's like the perfect way to get into meditation if you just can't meditate. Because for me, it was just the going with the noise, letting the noise be a part of it, like not resisting your thoughts, letting it come, acknowledging it. And then if you come back down and you can like feel like you can just focus on nothing, cool. If you can't, just notice everything around you and like label it. And I love that because for me, it helped me accept the noise, like acknowledge that this is what is happening, and then I don't know what exactly was like that turning point, but then I moved past it.
Mm.
And so that was like a really mindfulness meditation was like a really great tool for me to like turn down the volume of all the noise that was going in my head. Like I used to do it with my kids. They'd be crawling over my lap. And I knew I was like, I need a minute, and I used to like run and hide in the bathroom and stuff like that. And I still could not turn the noise down. It wasn't enough time, it
Yeah.
just was never enough. But starting to do meditation and just like this is what the reality is and it's okay and I can manage it, and I can still find peace in the chaos. That's what mindfulness meditation was to me, just finding peace through the chaos. And then it just became peaceful. I could tune it out. And now I can meditate for like an hour or more if I so choose to. At minimum, maybe like 5. Sometimes I might want to do a quick meditation just to ground. Sometimes I'm just like, I want all this time to myself and I just want to relax and just be in the space. But you have to build to that. But that allowed me to just get in tune with spirit because I was just like, I was so out of sync with spirit because I couldn't hear. And so I
Yeah.
feel like that's why I was making bad decisions or poor decisions. I mean, like, I guess there's like, I try now to look at it like there's no good or bad decision or right or wrong. There's just choices. And then to those choices, the door opens and then there's something behind it, but maybe I could have coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever, the choices would have been different maybe if I could like hear clearer,
Hmm.
see things from a clearer perspective versus all the chaos and all like the news stories just like
Oh,
coming at
yeah.
me,
Yeah.
you know. And I think, what we all in this day and time, we're all in that like space if we don't do things to like move past that space and find the peace because we're not going to be given peace. You know, it's
No,
really an internal thing. It's something you have to decide, like, I want peace and I'm going to get it, you know, because
yeah,
it doesn't land on your lap. Um, but yeah.
right. Yeah, no, and the culture, there's that book, I didn't read it, but something like The Myth of Normal in an Abnormal Culture or something like this. But like basically, like everyone's in chronic stress mode or burnt out, or most of the population, even before the pandemic, 75% of people in the US were in chronic stress. And it's not a physiological state that we're supposed to be in chronically. It's supposed to be like one little, oh, fight or flight, or get out of here, live to see another day. And it does affects your brain. You get diminished blood flow to your prefrontal cortex. So that's with the decision making. Then we're hard on ourselves. So now you're still staying in stress. But it's bad for every system in your body because it's dialing down immune system, digestive system, reproductive system, because it's like, hey, this is survival mode. And you're mobilized. And so that's too, it's affecting what voices are coming up in your head. Your story about the world is one of like, oh my gosh, gotta do this, gotta do that, whatever, right? Like, and so you're very mobilized if you're in that type of threat response. And then of course that's the more hyper. And then of course there's people that more hypo, where it's just like more shut down, numb, but it's still and you're right, you have to like decide, like you need to find your way up, and you forget that there is an up. And that's like the whole suicide conference that you were participating in and sharing at, right? Like they don't see that there is another state. They really, it's like looking straight down a black abyss where their choices and options and how their literal brain, if you scanned it, looks and works. And again, the whole body. And so claiming that, and meditation is freaking fantastic for that. And there's all sorts of really good meditations as well. I think I did Emily Fletcher's Ziva meditation, and she starts off with mindfulness, and then you do use a mantra, and then you end up with manifesting. She had like 3, but it was nice and short too. My favorite of all time though was the non-dual meditation, because you literally drop into just, he calls it, it's Michael Taft, vast spacious awareness. So basically you're just your spirit at that point, which is super cool. But same kind of stuff you were saying, where you're acknowledging like what's coming up, like what sensations do I have, what thoughts are going by, what sounds am I hearing. And at some point you realize like whatever it is that's coming up is arising in my awareness. It's more of a knowing, like where you just kind of and like everything is arising in awareness, like the idea of being in a body, that like everything is this influx construct of motion, of variability, except for that one beautiful warmth and of vast spacious awareness, or whatever you want to call it. So it's super cool. I've never tried the transcendental meditation, but I know people love that one. But there's so many flavors of it, right? Like, so if someone tries it and they hate it, it's like, well, there'll be another one. You could try something else. Yeah. Like a veggie burger, people say, or, some kind of non-dairy milk, and people are like, oh, I tried that, it's gross. I'm like, you gotta try something else, because there's like 3 dozen kinds of corn, they're all different, right?
Right. That's true. Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I'd consider it a meditation, but doing the out of body experiences. Like I feel like initially like you get talked down like it's a meditation. If you do so I started with the OBE, I started doing like the talk downs, and then so it would be like prompts, because I was like, how do I do this? I can't get my mind into it. And now like I did one, was it yesterday? It was yesterday morning. I used to like always like lay down on the couch or my bed or the floor. And yesterday I did one, and I don't have to have a talk down. Like I can talk myself down in my head, but in the beginning I needed to be prompted. I didn't know what I was doing. But I mean it's I don't know if it would be considered a meditation, but I know initially it's very similar to a meditation.
I think it launches you. So I'm in Jade Shaw's Astral Academy because I had like a fear around the out of body stuff. So I would like to hear the lectures and hear other people's experiences and stuff. But I was actually doing one of Michael Tapp's meditations, and not on purpose, I fell asleep, but I popped out of body. And it's funny because I started like kind of looking around my room, and for the first time I could see my astral hands. Usually I was just like, I guess, a point of consciousness, but we're clunking around. Like when it was happening, like no one, like you're saying, no one says to their kids like, hey, trust your intuitive spirit, or name your intuitive spirit, or check in with your intuitive spirit, or even beyond, right? And then the same thing with the out of body experience. You're like, why am I on the ceiling of my kitchen right now clunking around, and this is weird? And so or I would be popping out of body if there was some kind of entity or ghost, and that if I was asleep, then it would pop out. But now there's like, I'm scared because what the F is this? Now I don't see ghosts that way at all, but that's a separate story. But anyway, so I was doing the meditation, and so I think the meditation could be a launch pad to the out of body experience. And meditation just basically means like a practice, right? And so you could even have an out of body experience practice or a lucid dreaming practice. So they all kind of intertwine, I think, where you could use a practice that is combining both of that. But it's funny because I was like not so scared and be like, oh, okay, I'm out of body. I'm in my room and I'm going to go just look at that table over there. Like I had these very unlofty goals. And then I was like, okay, I gotta go back. This was the sixth task. I'm going back to my body now over there in the bed. And in the Astral Academy last week, Jade Shaw was saying like, you could try. I don't understand these people who just want to walk around their house, and you could just go here and you could go there and like all this stuff. And meanwhile, I'm just like, that's a win for me to not be scared. Like at this point,
Yeah,
like
right.
to because we don't. It's just such an odd thing. I think I think I've never done it like on purpose, right? Like lucid dreams I've had on purpose. But like I'm kind of still ramping up to like be like, okay, here I'm gonna go. Like how you're at the point now where you could sit there and do it. I'm still like letting myself feel okay with the idea and not as fearful.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, no. So when I started, to be honest, I had like minimal information about like the possibilities of what could happen, right? I've always been into like interested in like those shows about like witches like Sabrina or Charmed or I Dream of Jeannie. I just like always like the like magical stuff. I never had like I didn't grow up like seeing spirits or having like things come in my dreams that I could remember at least. Because I don't, a lot of my dreams, I just don't remember, especially from childhood. I remember my dreams more now that I've been working with my crystals more than anything. So I never had a fear around it, but I also didn't go into it with a lot of knowledge. And there was one experience I had out of body when like this, I came back with an entity on me and or creature. I was like, oh my God. And I'm like trying to like open my eyes. I went into like sleep paralysis because I'm like trying to come back into consciousness. And I was like, okay. And I had to tell one of my friends because she gets sleep paralysis a lot, but she sees things, she hears things, spirits talk to her. And so I was like, oh my God, like, and she's like, yeah, I know what it's like to be trapped and like something's on you and you can't move. And you're looking at everything happening around you, like, like your mom or sister, whoever's there, and you can't, like, you're like screaming, like, get me out of this, wake me up. And you can't. But I was by myself and I could see literally like my room as it like everything, my body, like and I couldn't get up. And I was like, okay, I gotta be careful. And so from then, I would generally like ground and prepare myself before I would do that because I wasn't shielding myself at all going into experiences, or like cleansing like my space and like setting intentions. Like one of my
Asking
friends,
for spirit guides to be there and help
I
you.
was not doing that. I'm just like, I discovered this, and it came by way of like doing, because I'll do like use like meditations on YouTube or whatever. That's how like I had started,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, ooh, out of body experience, like this is cool. Didn't even know I'd be successful at it, right? Because I talked to other people and they're like, I can't do it. I try. I have friends that can't even do visualizations. They see nothing. Nothing happens for them. And so to me, I'm like, well, this is easy. People can't do this. I'm like, so like, try this. This is great.
Yeah.
And they're like, I tried, I can't do it. Like it doesn't. Everybody's gifts are different. And even when, so like I've met with like my ancestors several times. I've done a lot of past life regressions. I do them. I can do them on my own. And I never, even in that space, like I never, like I would like I'm welcoming all my ancestors, right? And a friend told me like, you might want to be careful about welcoming all your ancestors because some of them could be angry from whatever their traumas were in their
Yeah.
lifetime. They could be like not fully like crossed over and like kind of like out in the, I don't even know, just like out floating and not fully like transition to like that place. um they were like, in their experience, like I forget exactly like the words they use, but they'll say something like, welcoming ancestors that are like something like that, that are able to guide me into the ones who are not like ready. I'm saying it totally wrong, but to the
Yeah.
ones
No, I
who
get
are
it.
like, heart and spirit, like stay where you are. And then he was like, he closes the door before he leaves. And me, I wouldn't like close a door, but I like depart, like we share love and hugs and things like that. And so this is all off of like my intuitive guidance, like how I
Yeah.
do these things and go about it is just like, this is okay. This feels sketchy, maybe not. And so I've been like opening myself up and asking and manifesting more spiritual people to come into my life, to become like, to widen my spiritual family, but to also like seek like guidance, because there's different like things that I do that is just like, this is the right way to do it. Like I know intuitively, like ancestors, like we are pleased, like this is how we do this. But there's so much information that I don't know. There's so many things I don't know. And so I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm not bringing anything back. I don't want to be I don't feel, so that's the great thing. Like I don't feel like anything's attached to me or like attacking me.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody's experience.
You could
Some
command
people,
it away, though. That's the thing that's interesting. Like, love is literally the foundation of everything. So it's the most powerful thing. And like, if you think of dark, even the tiniest light. So if you send it away, you must go now, leave me. Or like Daniela Hills, who is like, she's got these courses on Udemy. She's got her own site. She calls them spirit friends. And so like, I took the time to like, define what do I mean by spirit friends, and spirit friends come now. So, it's all the entities that serve the one truth of love or whatever it is. So it could be my answer, like whatever it is. So like, you could have like your definition and that's what you're inviting around you. But if anything is there, that's not like to just send it love and send love on it. So where I was afraid of ghosts before, like now I know, like Shaman Dork sings, when there's fright, send it to the light. Like in one of his courses, he just started singing. And I just like, because that's what it is. It's like something is like, I think there's a level of like, there's spirit, which is 100% perfect love. There's everything perfect with it. And then soul might get imprinted with something other than love, right? And then that could carry it energetically to like wherever it is we go. And I say that because like Suzanne Giesman, who's an evidential medium, she's like a phenomenal person. And she says she'll only talk to like, she only ever sees, and her guides only ever let good spirits near her. And so like there was someone who even like was coming through, and he was trying to apologize, but they were just like, no. And like the other like entities were around him, like beings of light, saying, we're purifying, or they wouldn't let him speak, like, or something like this. They wouldn't let him even speak to her. So like when you define your rules, like whatever entities, like they have to listen. But the crushing chest, I had that all the time as a kid. The doctors just laughed at me. It was the same thing. I was like, I couldn't breathe though. Like, so some people have sleep paralysis. They know they could breathe and they could move their eyes. But I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I couldn't wake up. I would try to flail my arms, but my sister, who was like on the bunk below me, just heard like this slight little noise. And if you look up, I don't know, if you Google like terror demon or chest demon, you'll see even through the ages, I don't know if you've ever looked, of like historical art of these like creatures like sitting on people's chests as they sleep. And so there's something interesting with that. I thought, maybe it's because I can't breathe. My brain's helpfully coming up with a nightmare, but it could be like some kind of entity too, to just shoo away. I know Jade Shaw has great advice on the using sleep paralysis as a gift to launch yourself to an OB. But I haven't had it since I was a kid, so thank goodness. But I also have severe obstructive sleep apnea, so maybe it was a combination of a night terror. What is it? Night terror, sleep paralysis, and apnea. So I don't know, but I was definitely like couldn't wake up and was hearing like all these terrible voices of like scary voices, and I didn't see something sitting on me, but that's exactly what it feels like what you're describing, what everyone describes. Right? Crazy.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would, especially if that's happening to you from childhood, like, yeah, you'd be an adult and not want to, venture into what this world could be, the benefits, the beauty of it, because I mean, you're a child, like that's like traumatic,
And the doctor just laughs at me. That's crazy. Yeah. I've had so many things wrong with me that doctors like, I knew I had apnea. And one of the doctors was just like, no, only overweight men with short necks get that. Like,
oh Lord, oh my gosh. It's like things like you saying things like that. Like I have a friend, my best friend, she's gone through like so much like from a child when it comes to like the spiritual world. And I remember like, now we're adults and stuff, and there'll be times where something will happen to her. Like things latch onto her. They do. She doesn't have the guidance. So some of this stuff I'm gonna go back and talk to her about. But she doesn't know what to do with it, because it's not like, this was a gift my great grandmother had, or my mom has, and we talk about it. It's like the taboo stuff. So you're learning how to navigate these gifts you have on your own. But if you like bring this up around the average person, you're crazy,
right.
And so for her, there were times where she was like, oh my God, I thought like I was going crazy. And I'll be like, girl, you're not going crazy. You're not. You're just gifted. And you're trying to figure out how to deal with these gifts, how to communicate, because people talk to her. Like if she doesn't like cover her ears or cover her head at night, she'll hear voices, and they'll be calling her name, or they'll like speak in tongues.
Yeah.
But I was telling her, I was like, I wonder if you have like the gift to like almost set these spirits free in some way.
Oh yeah.
Help them move past. And because you're scared and you don't know what to do, it's more scarier for you than it is you doing something about it. She's like, I'm not ready. Like she doesn't even sleep in the dark. And this is a grown woman. But when something like this has been happening to you since you were a child, and there's like no explanation, like she's read books about like sleep paralysis and how to use it, and she hasn't tried to, because it's like sometimes it's just so terrifying to her, like to like be stuck and
Yeah.
not be able to move. Like I can only imagine like how devastating and frightening that is. It and when it happened to me, I wasn't so scared. I don't know why I wasn't so scared. Maybe because I've already been taught, I've already learned about it, right? But when you're like dealing with something like this on your own with no information, nothing that you can like pull, like reference from, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah. And I always start like, you're not crazy, girl. You're just gifted. And if you so choose to explore these gifts and really see what they mean, I'll be here to support you. But I talked about like maybe like trying to find someone that could help you with it. But I also think it has to be something you're open to. Like if you're closed off to it, you're not like you can do all the research on the internet, but doing internet research and then like coming in contact with people who you can talk to and have that experience and
Yeah.
can give you like actual guidance is so different. You know what I mean? Like there's more than enough stuff on the World Wide Web that it's just a guide, but I don't feel like it. Yeah, you have like you're bringing up like Jade Shaw. Like it's one thing to like see what's on Jade Shaw's website versus like taking a course. You know what I'm saying? Like not that that information on the site isn't like reliable,
Oh,
but
she does live. I'm doing the live one. So I did her course on Mind Valley, but I was noticed I was stopping it. And so I was like, I must be afraid because every other course on Mind Valley, it was like boom, 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 faster than you're supposed to go through it. Um, and then she has guest speakers come in all the time and you could do Q&A with them and you get in these little groups. So it's really awesome. I mean, I was just laughing when she was saying that just because it was just like exactly my MO. But this is the end of an Astral Academy. So but that's why I'm there. Like other people are there to like really soar and there's just like these great, oh my God, all the people who come in, it's just fantastic. So um and I don't think I've asked one question. There was someone on there from the Monroe Institute, but for the most part, I'm just absorbing it because I am like not ready to like be like, okay, I'm gonna, like you said, you listened to this, was it YouTube or whatever, and I'm gonna do it now. Like I'm not ready. I'm just like less scared to do it if I'm gonna do it. Um, but I think there is like you find the person that you trust. And even if it's something pre-recorded, if you really trust the person, like I wonder if your friend would like Shaman Durek because he's got so much information, and that made me so less scared. So he was talking about, he didn't call it psycho pumping, but that's what like they call it in shamanism, is like helping spirits cross over who are stuck here. But he would say, I'm pretty sure like that they're either like ashamed or confused or whatever, and they don't know like that they should go into the light and they'll be greeted by their loved ones, etc. Right. And so even in his book Spirit Hacking, he's got like information on how to send them to the light. And he says things like, all these people who say they're light and love, if you're not willing to like send these spirits to the light, like don't tell me how you're into love and light. But it sounds like your friends already got them around her, so she might as well send them on off to the light.
yeah.
Or inviting spirit friends that'll help keep the boundaries and rules that she wants. Like Suzanne Giesman, she's just such an interesting person. I could probably go on for her like way too long here. But I'll put a Vimeo to like an awesome talk that literally everyone should watch it in the whole world. From the IANS conference. It's luckily like free to watch on Vimeo now. But she would say like she only has spirits coming through when she's with her sitter, and her guides don't let them come through at any other time because they know it wouldn't be good for her. So it's like just like in life, you're talking about self-love and boundaries, and like it's the same thing with that.
Spiritual boundaries, spiritual
And like
rules.
exactly understanding that you have that say. And I've noticed the more will I put behind things, the more I get what I'm commanding or stating. It's so interesting. Like if it's just like this is how it is, and you're just so, but you have to stand in that love and not be fearful. But that whole when there's fright, song helped me with lucid dreaming, because I was doing shadow work and lucid dreaming. It gets quite scary. And I was like, oh, I could use this. That's not why he was sharing that song. He just kind of broke into it real funny. But it helped me with that, because it helps keep you from going into that fear response and remembering like that's it. I'm love. My light is as big as anyone else's, right? Like we're all these spiritual giants, like, and what things look like or sound like isn't what they actually look like or sound like, because we're all like energetic spiritual beings. So they're taking on a form based on, maybe did we watch a scary movie, or maybe it's someone we love taking on a form in a way they think is the best way to come through to us, right? So we have a lot of control too, um, in that, to say like, hey, show me what you really look like. We're like, why do you look like this now? You know. So like I had a spiritual thing. Like I don't usually see things, but I think you had to go up and like see your spirit guides or something. And I saw like a cartoon. I'm like, great, that's what I'm ready for, a freaking cartoon. But like, that's not what they really look like. But they're like, we're not gonna freak Jessika out. We're just gonna come to her as this like cartoon thing. So
I love that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I could talk about like occurrences all night and different things that have happened to me and things I probably haven't acknowledged as such. I don't know, like just that whole like trying to protect yourself, that just the safety mechanism within you. Uh I remember like just going through certain things as a kid, and I thankfully could convince myself so I wouldn't be scared. It's like being in the dark and you hear something and you're like, oh no, that was a pen that dropped. But no, that wasn't a pen. That it could have been like, I don't know what it was, but I'm just like, why would a pen drop now? No one touched anything on the desk. But
yeah.
like I would do that a lot. And I remember like in the beginning of my spiritual journey, now almost 3 years ago. And I say in the beginning because it's like now I acknowledge that I am a spiritual being. I was all these things before, but like to put the acknowledgement on it and own it and accept it and explore it. It's been 3 years, about 3 years. And I started like getting freaked out about things that I wasn't freaked out about since I was a little girl. And so it was like this whole, because it's a whole new world that you're opening yourself up to and accepting. And now, like, a lot of weird things do happen to me, but like, I always have to remember, like, you're guided, you're covered,
Yeah.
you're safe, and like you said, like, it's like setting those boundaries. Like, when you said that, I'm like, oh, wow, like, I've created like so many spiritual boundaries, and I didn't even realize, it was that. And so I'm definitely going to take that back and converse with my close friend about that, because when you could just see somebody, it's like you're so gifted. Like the things that happen.
Right. Oh my God, this happened to someone I know who was taking a yoga certification. They did the mirror gazing, and all these entities came around her, and she lost her shit. And she's like, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I was like, but like, you can make your rules, right? And then I was just like they came to you because you're so cool. They want to be around you, you know.
Special. You are your purpose for something that maybe you don't know. And it always makes me sad because we all have gifts, right? Our gifts are different. Me and you could have the same gift, but what we're supposed to do with it, our mission is still different. And it makes me so sad because I feel like, there's so much history lost, right? Because these are gifts that were passed down, but because we don't have like our ancestral guides right here, telling us, especially like being a African American woman, like being so far removed from like what was of my culture. It's like now I'm discovering these things, but through like my ancestor meditations and just like really like tapping in and acknowledging them and having conversations, I'm able to see the things that it is that I'm supposed to be doing that I can't like go and ask my mother or my grandmother. because like my mom, she's more accepting of like where I'm at and the thing. She's curious. Like I couldn't say to my grandmother, like, this is what I'm doing. She'd be like, what are you doing? Like, are you crazy? That doesn't even make sense. Like, so it's because I don't have like any earthly being here to, ask like, how do I do this? Or
Mm.
what was it like for great, 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 like none of that. The history is just like lost. We're discovering it on our own. And I feel like that can feel scary because it's no one there like to hold your hand. Because when you're messing around in the spiritual world, it can get crazy, and if you have no guidance, something that's happening could not be harmful to you, or there is a way to protect yourself against it, but because you don't know that, you're just completely freaked out and you shut down what is actually an amazing, beautiful gift that you have. So, sometimes I get sad, but I'm always curious. So when people say anything, or if I like sense anything, like I don't like pry, like, put them on the
Yeah.
spot, but you notice things and then I'll get curious. But naturally, people open up to me and share these different amazing, like, quirks about them. And I'm just like, tell me more. Versus like, oh, you're weird. What are you talking?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you're not crazy. Tell me more. Like, this is
Yeah.
the space. Let's share it, and it's not always like that everywhere we go. We're not always going to be accepted and invited to share more, so that like we can do what we're doing now to like exchange and like I'm learning stuff from you, you know. So I get sad about that because it is a hard road to be on your own with like no guidance at all. So thank God for like, the Jade Shaws and the Shaman Dureks of the world,
Yeah.
and Sonya Choquettes, because it makes
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not crazy, because you're not, like, literally. And if you're crazy, everyone's crazy. So that's normal, if that's a thing. But yeah, it's an interesting journey, I will say that.
There's also ChristyBay.com. So Christy Bay is an evidential medium. I think she's a psychic. Maybe if you're a medium, you're a psychic. And she's a spiritual coach, and she's absolutely amazing. She always has this free group twice a week, for you to come and practice mediumship. And she's so encouraging. Like I go in there and I feel like I suck, and she's just like, "You always do such a great job, Jessica." Or if I'm stuck, she'll like coach me through it. And I ended up doing her course that was 4 weeks Zooms, and it was like $70 or something, like unreal affordability. And um, I think your friend might love her because she'd get to trade, to use this in this good way and set those boundaries. And even the Daniela Hill stuff, Daniela Hill's always said, like, you put up this, you imagine this beautiful spear or something, and you say, like, only love may enter in and only love may enter out. So it's like you're literally
Yep.
commanding this protection. She's the
Mm-hmm.
one who uses that spirit friends term that I love. Because it makes it short, right? Like spirit friends come now, not like ancestors, but only the ones who have energetically cleansed.
Right. I was like, I don't know how to say that. Oh my God. Yeah, I
Right.
love that.
And like this whole long, by the time you're done, it's just like, whew, I'm done. I'm not even going to go there now. So you could kind of make your intention of like what you mean by these things. And I might have told you this too, like anytime I ask for things to like unfold, and like, I always say in the most fun and adventurous way possible, because I think sometimes when you try to manifest stuff, or you're manifesting stuff, it's like it's trying to come to you the quickest way possible. And I don't want the quickest way possible. I want the safest, most fun, nobody gets hurt, nobody cries, adventurous way possible. And so I always kind of throw that in there when I'm like manifesting something. And it's been true, right? Like yeah, sometimes it's like you could grow through pain, but you could also grow through fun and adventure. And I was just interviewed someone who's like a laugh therapist, and we got to talking about this, and I was just like, I call it the adventure zone outside of the comfort zone, where it doesn't have to be. Everyone's like, it's a struggle, it's pain. It's like, sure, it could be, but like if it's just scary because it's something new, you might as well like make it an adventure. Why are you going to make it torture? Like, come on, like you'll get where you want to go just because you're moving it. It might as well be like thrilling and fun. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and um, just yeah, just trying to. I want to take the time, like you're saying, to do the wellness reset. I might hit you up for like, what is this cleanse? I I was seeing a physical therapist, and she was saying how one of her clients or patients she's like, she got not a trampoline, but something like a trampoline that she bounces on. And my brain heard, you need to buy a trampoline. So I bought a trampoline, a little one, and it does have the rail. So this way I live alone. So I don't want to like fall off my trampoline and then no one notices. I'm like on the floor.
Oh,
Um, but there's apparently like fun videos, like put on fun music, hop around. And I'm also thinking like it's up high enough that my dogs won't get underfoot because I bought 2 steps because I used to love double step, like step aerobics. But I was like almost kicking my dogs. I have 2 small dogs. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. So I think the trampoline's good because I think there's no way they're gonna want to try to get up there with me. And then it's good on your knees, put on some fun music and just see. And then my ultimate goal, which I just found out is totally attainable now. There's something called flying high bungee on Instagram. Do you ever see this? It's like an aerobics class. Everyone has a bungee cord on them. And so you're leaping in the air. It's almost like being on the moon or something. And they like throw their body into the floor and pop up. It's like they're on a bungee cord. So they're literally like flying. They're playing this fun music, like infectiously you want to dance. And they have different levels to it. So it's somewhere in like the Southeast, the Flying High Bungee account. But I found out from my daughter that there's someone does it up in LA. And so I was like, okay, I was like, let me start walking again, like more regularly, start doing some trampoline stuff. And then we'll have to do some kind of trip and do the flying high level 1. I kept telling her level 1 because
I love
some of it
that.
you could tell, like if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna crash into the person next to you. Like it looks so good on the Instagram, right? They're all in perfect synchronicity, but
You pick the best students to do that video.
exactly. Like I'd be afraid, like you like conking heads with somebody next to you. So
Right? Oh man, I love that. I haven't heard of that. Yeah, I gotta check that out because that me and my girlfriend were like, we're gonna do adventurous stuff this summer. I'm like, I want to go zip lining. I want to.
wow.
I have some big scary goals, skydiving and all that. Everybody's like, I don't know, if I'm gonna do that with you. I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it by myself. I don't know, but I got my little bucket list of stuff. But that's safe.
Good.
Flying high bungee seems a lot safer than jumping out of an airplane or actually bungee jumping off of a cliff or something.
Oh my God. I just see the recoil when people jump off with the bungees and their bodies are like all like, like I'm just like, there's no
I
way. And I
want it. I want it. I want all of that.
really, I have like, I don't know if you notice, like my neck is all weird and I'm like constantly like trying to click it back into where it belongs and it's not there. So I think it just wouldn't be a good
Yeah.
structural choice for my body to like flail like that. But I mean, if that's what people do and that's fun and their bodies are like, yeah, we loved it, let's do it again. But yeah, like I said, my body gets a vote. My body, my body's like, don't you dare. The trampoline's enough of an
I gotta
adventure.
try it one time. I don't know how I'm gonna feel after, but I'm like kind of bucket list everything that I think is like scary, and if I die, I'll die happy. And I love a good thrill, so I'm like, I'm not gonna start there, but hey, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll tell you about it.
Yeah,
Maybe, or
absolutely.
maybe I won't live to tell the tale. Who
No,
knows?
you'll come visit me then. I'll be like, spirit friends, come now. And I'll be like, what the fuck are you doing here? And you're like, remember that idea I had to skydive?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, this is great.
Well, this was so fun. I'll put in the GPT to get a good title. See if we can get a good. But I'm learning so much too. Like that angel book sounds amazing. I know her name, so I'll be able to look it up. And just hearing like how sophisticated you are with the out of body stuff, fearless. I mean, that's super encouraging. I think my goal would be with out of body to like see people who I love to have died, including pets. And like I think that's a big thing. Maybe to see like Jake the dog would be
Yes.
tough.
Oh, you're gonna see Jake when you go and do your colonoscopy.
No, I screwed it up. Well, I didn't screw it up, but I'm supposed to like the nurse told me, I was like, I've never been under anesthesia. And she's like, oh, that's nothing. It's not scary. The worst part is the night before. So I had it in my head. You have to drink this stuff the night before.
Yep.
But I didn't get like there's this packet I was supposed to have gotten in the mail and I didn't get it. When I picked up all the stuff at the pharmacist, it was nuts and people were like screaming and how'd that pharmacist go home and I was supposed to get this or that and I was just like, I'm leaving. So I took the stuff and there was no instructions. And then so it's like the day before, a little bit more than 24 hours before the procedure. And I find this email because it was saying go in your action items online. There was nothing in there. So I'm searching my email. And then it's like 5 days before, do this. And I'm like, whoops. And then it's like, don't eat nuts. And I haven't had nuts in forever. And my daughter had picked me up unsalted cashews. And I call up and I was just like, I didn't read this. And I had nuts. And the lady's like, well, was it like a teaspoon of nuts? And I'm just like, no. It was like a fistful of nuts. And
I enjoyed them.
They're like, you cannot come in. So they moved it till July. So yeah, so I didn't get to try that experience.
We still got a story then. We had a story
Yeah, we
coming.
still got to just I could actually do more prep work for like making it happen. But like I was talking to someone today and they're like, you're just sleepy with the twilight anesthesia, not like really out. Like some people I think fall asleep, but some people like one lady I was talking today, the physical therapist, I did a phone call with her and she was just like, well, they told me I could watch it if I wanted to. Like, so it's like a twilight. I've never been under anesthesia, like not even at the dentist. So, but they're saying twilight, which might not be like completely out. So what I'll have to figure out like, again, a plan to, or start doing maybe some YouTubes like you're saying to just ease my way into like this and then try it when I'm under the twilight to see if I could launch from that.
Interesting. Oh my God. I've never had anesthesia, but I'm like, either I'm up or I'm out. Don't give me no in between.
Right, because then I'm like, well, what happens if it hurts? So you're not quite.
How do you say anything?
Exactly, right?
Oh man.
And it wasn't the most confidence building answer that I got when I asked that. They're like, you shouldn't, but some patients said they felt it. I'm like, great.
You use some of your spiritual boundaries and rules before you go into it, and maybe that will help.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Crazy. I'll be like, you can put the anesthesia on me, but I want you to play this guided OBE meditation while I'm under. What are you talking about, miss? It's not happening.
Whatever I want, accommodate me, okay? Accommodate me.
I'll go in there with like little earbuds. What are you listening to? Nothing. Just my hearing aids.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, there's some really good stuff that you can find, some good OBEs. Like when you talked about not having the opportunity thus far to see any ancestors and stuff, I remember like I have a sister that has passed away. My kids were born in 2017, so she passed away in 2018. But I didn't get to go to her funeral. And so I had like a lot of like, guilt and sadness around that. Because, when she died, we weren't close, but we didn't have an issue with each other. We have different fathers. So like we're familiar with each other, but we just didn't grow up close. But it doesn't negate the love that I have for her, and I felt loved by her. But, I still held that. And then in one of my guided ancestor out of body experience meditations all in one.
Yeah.
I seen her and we hugged and I cried and I could
Oh,
feel like I was crying, like I was physically crying too. So I wasn't just crying, in the space, but so I was like, oh, this is so powerful. But I just remember like not being able to like move my eyes, but feeling like the tears roll. So it was pretty cool. And I didn't have an intention to see her specifically. So that was really nice and comforting. I've met a lot of people that I don't know, or I wouldn't know them because they're generations before me. But I like designated my closest relative, which is my uncle, my mother's brother. She had a twin brother that passed away, and I was really close with him. So he's my angel. He takes me to and from. He guides me safely back to my body. So I've like designated him as my angel and my spirit guide, one of my spirit guides. And I'm still going through the process of like learning my other spirit guides because like Sonia Choquette says, like you can have a spirit guide for like anything and you can name them, you can not name them, but she's like you can have a spirit guide to help you get out of traffic. You know what I mean? You can have a spirit guide to help you manifest money. You can have a spirit guide to help you with your health and diet. And so um I love that. So I'm still working on that part, but yeah, I mean, hopefully you get to the point where you're able to see the different people and beautiful pets that you'd love to reconnect with. It'd be awesome.
yeah. Yeah, because I think I've gotten like little messages, but like I want to see them, like you're saying, like be like on this other astral plane with them and like
Yeah, it's awesome how real it is. Like the details. Oh my God. Yeah, I feel fortunate that I'm able to do it. I can't describe it besides like it feels like a dream, but it's not. I don't know how
yeah.
well you remember your dreams, but I remember my dreams, but in parts. I don't remember like the details of it. Like it plays like a movie, it plays like a daydream versus like I was sleeping. And so it's really cool because it feels super real. Uh and I don't know anybody else personally that I can talk to about it who they're doing it. They have these experiences. So right now I'm the only one in my circle that I know of that this is happening to. So yeah, I'm gonna look into. You said Christy Bay. She has like a
Oh, May,
group.
Christy May. I think it's CHRISTIEMAA.com. But I could put I'll even put it in the like blog post that goes with this, like the link to her like Facebook, because Facebook suggested I'm hardly ever on Facebook. I go on, it's like you should join this group. And it's like something like spiritual connections with Christy May or something. Um, I think she's celebrating her anniversary with her husband now, and they're like driving all over, but it'll kick back up in June, like June 18th or so. And she really did like 2 times a week, these free practice circles. And if you wanted to practice, you had a turn. And she just stayed on. Like I've never seen her like end it to be like time's up, like if people still wanted to go. And it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I'm sensing a man and he died. I'm really good at getting the cause of death. I feel it in my body. Like I feel the pain. Um, and the funny thing is, she's like, they're not, because there was this pain I kept getting like on the head, and I wasn't seeing a lot of other stuff come through, and just little bits and pieces that resonated with someone. And it turned out it was someone who like fell and off of what's the difference between cliff diving and what you were talking about with bungee? So be real careful because that's what
Okay.
happened. He fell, and it was mostly on the side that I was feeling that he got the impact. um but
Mm.
Christy was saying like they're not going to stop with that until you get the message, you know what I mean? Like they're not like actually trying to hurt you, but like they're on you. Like, and let's say I didn't try to chase them away. I'm sure you could have if you really wanted to, or say, hey, you're distracting me, dial it down a little there. Um, but yeah, so she's great at just like talking you through it, telling you what's going on, and like where I'd second guess because I started thinking I was getting my grandfather, and I was like, should I ask him to step back? She's like, no, it's the qualities of this person that's coming through is a lot like your grandfather. So tell us about him. You know what I mean? Like, so she's just fantastic. Like you feel safe with her and comfortable, and she's so encouraging. It's incredible. And then, and because you'd be on, I'd be like, get like 3 little pieces of evidence where like someone else will be on and be like, oh, they're telling me this, they're saying that, oh, this person, they had this tattoo, right? And like it's just like they're having this actual conversation. So you see all the levels, but everyone's so welcoming of each other. And you're doing it like that gallery style, I guess. You start saying what you're getting, and people put up their virtual hand and they start putting it down when it's like, okay, that's not true. They're like, oh, this person had 4 kids, and like some people put their hands down, and like it just keeps going till you realize like who the sitter is, and like you go with it. And it's just incredible to watch because like the things that come through is just it's just amazing, especially when it's like so specific and not like, oh, he liked pizza, like,
Right.
like everyone likes pizza, but like it was like just like very interesting bits of evidence that wouldn't line up with someone else. So
I'm interested. I definitely, I'm gonna check that out and share it with my girlfriend because
yeah,
oh, these are the spaces I'm looking to be in. So I'm just like, where are they? Where's my people at?
and I would
So
have done her next class, but I teach at night a lot, and so I just didn't line up on the weeks. But I would
yeah.
love to do more with that because it takes time. Like Suzanne Giesman, I keep referencing her, but it was 3 years. Like she was a very left brain person, military, in Air Force. What's it called? Like on Air Force One with the president, like flying around, like was in the last aircraft that before they grounded everyone from like the 9/11 attacks. Like she was like legit, like, and she was very like left brain, left brain, left brain. But when she saw her daughter-in-law's body after, when they laid people out at the funeral home, she was like, that's not her. I have to figure out how to talk to her. And she spent 3 years teaching herself how to be a medium, and now she's just so good, and that she teaches other people as well. And so like it's yeah, it's something that you could learn. Like that's why it's again like the Sanyas, the Jades, the Shaman Durks, is everyone kind of helping everyone else along, and it's all out of like we're serving spirit because we know that that's how we could help here, amplify love here, make things better here, heal here, help people along here. And they want to help us. And we have to ask because otherwise they're quiet because we have free will. So it's like once you start asking for the good ones, come on in, then you start to see it. And I start keeping a journal of like all the things, like the story I told you. So it's just like, yeah, this is a lot. Like even the successes I've had in the mediumship class, like or Silva Mind Method or all those stuff, like, and you write it down so you could like, if you're ever in doubt, you flip through and you're like, wow, that is like good stuff there, like, yeah, because it's one of the things you have to experience for yourself, right? Like,
yep,
yeah,
absolutely, yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
yeah. So,
I got a list of people that
yeah, let
you've
me know if I
given.
forget anything in like the show notes because I'll put it. We could add all the goodies in there.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I got some people to check out because I'm trying to hone my gifts even more. So much happening, so much happening. But I'm like, yeah, I, just the calling. When you get the call and the phone keeps ringing and it doesn't stop, it's like the phone's ringing, but it's getting louder. You know what I mean? It's like one of those. It's like, will you be quiet? No, I'm not. Pick up.
yeah.
So I'm picking up. I'm picking up. Yeah.
Well, great as always. Time flies right on by, and
No, this is
always a
awesome.
pleasure.
Thank you, thank you. I can't wait to, hear some more about how things are going with you and your class. So you gotta like tell me more about that, the class you're teaching and stuff. So yeah, we got some more things to talk about.
Yes, sure. Look
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yes.
Happy adventures. Happy adventures.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
This
Bye.
is lovely.
I'll talk to you
Screaming
later.
I'm better. Shine left like the beams, the love spreader. Keep on dreaming.